Have you ever wondered, is the Bible 100% consistent? Today, we're going to approach this question not with skepticism but curiosity. We'll delve into the pages of this ancient text, exploring both Old and New Testaments. We'll examine the stories we've heard since childhood, not to discredit but to deepen our understanding. After all, inconsistencies are part of what makes any text rich and fascinating. So, come along on this journey of discovery. Let's dig into some of these inconsistencies and see what they reveal. Starting off our countdown, at number 10, we have the creation timeline. Now here's where things get a bit tricky. In the Bible's first book, Genesis, there are two accounts of creation. Genesis 1 presents a sequence where the world is made in 6 days, with humans, both male and female, being the last creation on the 6th day. On the flip side, Genesis 2 offers a different take. It suggests that a man, Adam, was created before any plant or animal. Then, after all the animals failed to be a suitable companion for Adam, a woman, Eve, was created. So we have two accounts, one where humans are the last creation after all plants and animals, and another where a man is created first, then the animals, and finally a woman. It's like two different jigsaw puzzles made from the same pieces, but they don't quite fit together. Quite a puzzle, isn't it? Moving on to number 9, the story of the Great Flood. This biblical tale is full of mystery, from the construction of the ark to the nature of the flood itself. But one striking inconsistency stands out: the number of animals Noah was instructed to bring aboard his ark. In Genesis chapter 6 verse 19 it stated that Noah should bring 2 of every kind, a male and female. But just a few verses down in Genesis chapter 7 verse 2 the instructions suddenly change. Now Noah is told to bring 7 pairs of every clean animal and bird and 1 pair of the unclean ones. This discrepancy leaves us in a curious quandary. Were there 2 of each animal, or were there 14 of some and 2 of others? It's a fascinating detail to ponder on, adding an extra layer of intrigue to an already captivating tale. So how many animals were there really? At number 8, we have a big one: the 10 Commandments. Now, you might be thinking, how can there be inconsistencies with something as fundamental as the 10 Commandments? Good question. The issue lies between Exodus 20 and Exodus 34, where 2 different sets of commandments are given. In Exodus 20, we get the commandments we're all familiar with, like, "Thou shalt not kill," and "Thou shalt not steal." But then, in Exodus 34, we're given a completely different list, including instructions like, "Celebrate the Feast of Weeks," and "Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk." Quite different, wouldn't you say? So we're left with a conundrum. Both sets of commandments are given by God to Moses on Mount Sinai, and both are referred to as the 10 Commandments. It's a head-scratcher for sure. Which set of commandments is the real deal? At number 7, we find ourselves questioning Judas' death. Judas Iscariot, the infamous disciple who betrayed Jesus, is said to have met a tragic end. However, the details of his demise are shrouded in ambiguity due to conflicting accounts in the New Testament. In the book of Matthew, chapter 27, verse 5, it's written that Judas, filled with remorse, threw the 30 pieces of silver into the temple and hanged himself. A straightforward, albeit grim, conclusion. However, the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 18, paints a different picture. Here it's claimed that Judas bought a field with his ill-gotten silver. In this field, he fell headlong, bursting open in the middle, and all his intestines gushed out. A gruesome end indeed. 2 books, 2 deaths, 1 man. The inconsistency is clear, yet the question remains. So, how did Judas really meet his end? Number 6 brings us to a crucial moment: Jesus' last words. Now this is a moment of profound significance in the Christian faith, yet there's a fascinating inconsistency across the 4 Gospels. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus' last words are, my God, why have you forsaken me?" which mirrors the Gospel of Mark. But Luke offers a different account, with Jesus saying, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." Then we have the Gospel of John, which gives us yet another version, with Jesus stating, "It is finished." 4 Gospels, 3 different sets of last words. This discrepancy isn't about nitpicking over trivial details, it's about understanding how different perspectives and interpretations can shape the narrative of the same event. It's a clear example of how even the most pivotal moments can be subject to human memory and interpretation. So we're left with the question, what were the real last words of Jesus? Halfway through our countdown, at number 5, we find the genealogy of Jesus. When we look into the New Testament, we find 2 accounts of Jesus' lineage. One in the Gospel of Matthew and the other in Luke. Both Matthew and Luke agree that Jesus' legal father was Joseph. However, they disagree about Joseph's father. Matthew 1:16 tells us that Joseph's father was Jacob, but according to Luke 3:23, Joseph's father was Heli. This raises some interesting questions. Was Joseph's father Jacob, or was it Heli? Perhaps one of these men was Joseph's biological father and the other his legal father, or maybe one was his stepfather. The Bible doesn't provide a clear answer. This inconsistency may seem small, but it's an important one as it directly impacts the genealogy of Jesus, a crucial element in Christian theology. So who was Joseph's real father? At number 4, we have the resurrection. Now, this is where things get a bit tangled. The resurrection, the event that forms the foundation of Christianity, seems to be a point of contention among the 4 Gospels. You see, each Gospel account tells a different tale about who discovered the empty tomb of Jesus. In the Gospel of Matthew, it's Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. Mark's account brings in a young man dressed in a white robe. In Luke, it's the women who had followed Jesus from Galilee. And finally in John, it's Mary Magdalene alone who first encounters the empty tomb. So, who do we believe? Each account is unique, each presents a different set of characters. It's like a game of Cluedo, but with eternal implications. This inconsistency might leave us pondering and questioning, who truly discovered Jesus' empty tomb? Getting close to the top, at number 3, we have the Crucifixion. This event, central to Christian belief, has some inconsistencies when it comes to the exact time it occurred. The 4 Gospels in the New Testament tell us different stories. According to the Gospel of Mark, Jesus was crucified at the 3rd hour, which would be around 9 in the morning. Contrastingly, the Gospel of John suggests that Jesus was still before Pilate at the 6th hour, which would be around noon, thus placing the crucifixion later in the day. These discrepancies might seem minor, but they can lead to significant questions. If the Gospels can't agree on the timing of such a pivotal event, what does it say about the rest of their narratives? This inconsistency, like others we've discussed, doesn't necessarily discredit the Bible's message, but it does raise questions about its historical accuracy. What was the actual time of the crucifixion? At number 2, we find the Sermon on the Mount. This is a sermon that's said to be one of the most famous of Jesus' teachings, but there's a rather intriguing inconsistency regarding where it actually took place. The book of Matthew, chapters 5 through 7, gives us the impression that Jesus delivered this sermon on a mountainside. Matthew describes Jesus as seeing the crowds, going up on a mountainside, sitting down, and beginning to teach. However, Luke in chapter 6 tells us a different story. According to Luke, Jesus came down with them and stood on a level place, indicating a flat area, possibly a plain, rather than a mountain. The teachings in both versions are similar, but the geographical setting seems to be different. This inconsistency leaves us with a question that's been debated among scholars for centuries. So, where did the sermon really take place? And finally, at number 1, we have the Nativity. A tale that's been told time and time again, the birth of Jesus Christ. But have you ever noticed the discrepancies between the accounts given in Matthew chapter 2 and Luke chapter 2? Matthew's account speaks of wise men visiting Jesus in a house, bringing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. However, Luke's narrative mentions shepherds visiting Jesus in a manger, with no mention of these 3 gifts or the wise men. Furthermore, Matthew mentions King Herod and the massacre of infants in Bethlehem, while Luke recounts a census leading Mary and Joseph to Bethlehem. These 2 narratives, both integral to the same story, seem to paint quite different pictures of the circumstances surrounding Jesus' birth. It's intriguing to ponder why these inconsistencies exist and what they might mean. Could they be different interpretations or perhaps a blend of oral traditions? What were the true circumstances of Jesus' birth? There you have it, our countdown of the top 10 biblical inconsistencies. From the creation timeline to the Sermon on the Mount, we've delved into the fascinating world of biblical narratives. These disparities invite us to explore further, to question, and to seek understanding. They remind us that even the most revered texts are open to interpretation and inquiry. So let's keep exploring, let's keep questioning. Remember, questioning and seeking understanding is the cornerstone of growth. Until next time,